on him!
Welcome to Fish North Georgia's The Guide. Here's Chris Gayton.
Hello everyone, Chris Gayton here with The Guide at Fish North Georgia. Kind of bring you a fishing report from June the 7th at Lathem Reservoir. Talk to you a little bit about what I seen, what I was doing, and what worked for me for catching fish. So the water clarity was clear from the dam all the way to the creek arm. Once you went up the creek arm where the waterfall is, some of you will know where that's at, some of you won't. If you go up the lake from the ramp, you'll pass a pocket or a long cove with a big community dock there for Crystal Falls on your right. The next long creek arm on your right, if you follow it all the way back, you'll get to the waterfall. The water was had a little bit of dinge there, but it was still pretty clear. Water temperature was low 80s throughout the day. Didn't see any schooling fish. I think, it's kind of been odd this year, and not only for Lathem, but for several lakes. Even Lanier never got the big schooling action, big groups of schooling fish that we would normally see. Had a really long spawn. I caught fish in these smaller reservoirs, which is kind of odd, from March until June. Several fish, and most of the time it's a shorter spawning season on these smaller reservoirs just because of the fluctuation of the water temperature. But this year we had a lot of fluctuation, and it kind of drew that spawn out. The fish that I did see coming up, they were focused more on one bait. I couldn't get them to eat top water. I threw several style baits to try to get that reaction on top water. And then I transitioned to this, which is a Swimbait. I believe it's the 125, maybe 125 slow sink. And the way I was getting them to react is when I would throw this out, let it sink for just a second, and I'd reel really fast, like a bait fish running from something, and then I would stop it and twitch it at the same time, if that makes sense. So I would, as I'm reeling, when I stop my reel, I would twitch. And what that does is that causes this bait to actually turn around in the water and face anything that may be following or chasing this bait. Had really good luck on that. Never got any big bites, but got several bites on that. Another thing that I had some good luck with is just a regular Fluke, Zoom Fluke, and Arkansas Shiner. Same type deal with it. It's just a little bit more subtle, not as bright, more of a natural color, and doing the same deal. I was throwing it out on a spinning rod, reeling it really fast, jumping it out of the water, and then I would just stop it and let it kind of slowly sink, and then start it right back up. Most of the time on that pause is when I would get bit. As those fish transitioned a little bit deeper and I couldn't get those reaction bites, I went to this guy right here. So this is a 3/8 Swimbait head and a 3.3 Kitech. Just open hook, rigged just like this. And I would see those fish, or I would know the area that the fish were schooling in, throw it out and count it down. When I say count it down, what I'm doing is, say those fish are suspended at 15 feet. Well, I'll actually take this bait and just drop it off the side, and my best guesstimate, count that down 2 feet, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. know how deep. If it's, say it's 1 foot per second, well then I would count 15 seconds or 10 seconds and then start reeling this bait. And that would put you somewhere in the range that those fish were suspended. And you got to play with that a lot. It's depending on the style head, the size bait, the weight, the type of line. There's a lot of different variables in that. And then you just want a slow, steady retrieve. So you're kind of reeling that bait back through those fish, causing them to react. The last thing I was doing is throwing a big jig. So this is a Castleberry 3/4 ounce. Football head jig with a Berkeley Maxcent chunk on the back. Bigger profile. I like going to these bigger baits post-spawn. The fish, in my opinion, do not feed as much. They tend to feed on bigger meals. Whereas in the wintertime, you're going to want something very subtle, small, compact. In the summertime, I do just the opposite. I want a big profile, big bait. I mean, you can see kind of compared to my hand here how big this bait is. And the way I was working that is I was throwing that out and giving it a real erratic action. I would actually hop it off the bottom. I'm throwing this guy on 17-pound fluorocarbon on a 7'6" heavy action rod. And what I'm doing is I'm hopping that off the bottom, or I may bounce it twice, let it fall back down, and then I may even reel it 2 or 3 turns off the bottom, and then letting it fall back down on a tight line. And that's most of the time when I was getting my bites. As soon as this would get close to the bottom, it would fall in front of those fish that were 2 to 3 feet off the bottom. I would get that bite. Every time that I go to move the bait or reel up, I would start out very slowly to feel for the fish. If the fish was there, set the hook, and that's it. But I was fishing this bait in those transition areas off the side of points. So when I say transition areas, you may have a long point that's on the main lake or a secondary point going back into a pocket. And off the side of those points, it'll go from 15 feet up top to 20 to 25 feet really quickly. There's a steep drop off, and those fish were kind of positioned right on the sides of those points in that drop off, sitting there ready to feed. So you would hop that jig off the top and then just work it down, getting a lot of bites that way as well. Never caught any really big fish. I have caught them in the past, caught several big fish that way. It didn't work out. It didn't work out for me this time, but like I said, that's fishing. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. I wouldn't say I had a bad day by no means. Caught several fish and caught some decent fish. I'd say biggest fish 3.5, 4 pounds. Just no real big fish. But yeah, that's it. So that's all I have for the Lathem update. We will be back next week. We're going to be going down to Hard Labor Creek, so get you some south of Atlanta or southeast of Atlanta fishing reports from Hard Labor. Really excited about this tournament, for a great cause, and looking forward to coming back with a fishing report for that. That's probably one of my favorite lakes, and electric only lakes in the state. So that's all I have. Everybody have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the guide here at Fish North Georgia. Our mission is to build a community of anglers to give you the best and latest information to make your day on the water more successful. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, click the bell so you'll be notified of any future content. Make sure you check us out at fishnorthgeorgia.com, where we carry a large variety of bait manufacturers from here in the North Georgia area. So we appreciate you being part of our community, and we'll see you soon.